Is Xbox bringing some of their most popular exclusives to PlayStation and Nintendo? Kind of. Let's get into it. So, over the weekend, many of you may have saw, but a rumor started by Nate the Hate, who he has an Xbox podcast and he's usually an Xbox insider, had kind of hinted at the possibility of Microsoft porting older exclusives. And he particularly hinted at a game that was critically acclaimed and game of the year contender. Now, on the subreddit, the Gaming League subreddit, which I highly recommend, I enjoy that subreddit. A lot of great comments on there, but a lot of speculation on that subreddit came about when this rumor was posted, and a lot of people suspected that Hi-Fi Rush is actually going to be ported to PlayStation and Nintendo. Now, at the time, a lot of people were saying it was only going to be Nintendo. Now, there's other insiders like Jeff Grubbs and Windows Central who are coming out and kind of hinting that it might be both PlayStation and Nintendo. There was even a Australian ratings board, which I don't know how accurate that was, but apparently they leaked Hi-Fi Rush on other platforms as well. Now, during this rumor, another rumor came about, which was suggesting that Sea of Thieves was also going to be coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. Now, obviously, I don't want to get too much into the news part of it. There's a lot of conflicting things about it, and a lot of people are obviously concerned, and now I'm also concerned as well. Not to say I'm this big Xbox fanboy, but I do think Xbox porting their exclusives to other platforms, even if it's older titles or a year-old game, I think is a little bit worrisome. I can't really understand the thought of doing this. Now, I did come up with two theories. One theory is that they are testing the waters to see how some of these games that may have not been successful on Game Pass and, sales wise, to put out these games and see how they do on PlayStation and Nintendo, if they can find another audience on those platforms. Because I do think Hi-Fi Rush I think Microsoft expected it to do a lot better than it actually did. And to be fair, it was a shadow drop. So that might have been the reason why, a lot of people didn't talk about it. It sort of came and went. And even though it did get nominations at the Game Awards, I still think that game deserved a lot more attention. And it does feel like a Nintendo game. I got to keep it real. It does feel like it. And I would actually play it on the Switch if I got to be honest. So yeah. Now, the other theory that I have is that, and this is obviously the theory that is the hot take and not everybody's going to like, but I think Microsoft is seeing the writing on the wall. And I think they are either planning or wanting to see how certain games do on other platforms, so they could potentially release upcoming and future games on the platform. Now, this rumor did specify, I'm not sure if it was on Windows Central or if it was Nate the Hate, but the rumor was, hey, this is going to be a older game, right? And Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush are now considered older games, right? Hi-Fi Rush is now a year old, which is kind of crazy, but I mean, it would be very disappointing. And I did see a lot of Xbox commentators on Twitter talk about how this would ruin the brand and that they'll lose their identity if they start porting older games to their platforms. Now, I agree with that. I think it makes sense, right? Why have these games be exclusives for a year or a couple years and then just port them to PlayStation and Nintendo? Now, Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves aren't these big Xbox exclusives, but at the same time, if you do port these and they're successful, if Microsoft starts porting Gears or Halo or Forza and those are successful, then I think we're going to be in a big problem, right? I think at that point, Xbox as a brand is third party. It's dead, right? There's no reason to own an Xbox console because now, if you have a PlayStation, if you have a Switch, or if you have a PC, obviously, you can now play those exclusives on other platforms. So I don't really see what the point of an Xbox is. And we know that Xbox was going to shut down at one point, right? Phil Spencer was the one that went to the head of Microsoft and told them, hey, I have this pitch to make, Xbox a actual competitor, which was Game Pass. And Game Pass is doing well, but I and this is another take that I'm going to have, but I think we're going to actually start to see some problems with these services, right? And we're already starting to see these problems with, the movie industry and, things like Netflix and Disney Plus. So, I mean, and gaming is an entirely different beast. So you got to wonder, like, how many people are subscribing to these services for extended amount of times and playing games, right? Wouldn't you rather just outright buy the game instead of paying a service, every month and not even really be playing these games, right? Like, I know a lot of people casually don't play a lot of games, right? Or I should say, beat a lot of games in a year. So I just think this is kind of concerning for Xbox. I mean, I was really hoping that Xbox would redeem themselves and would actually put some pressure on PlayStation, especially when they bought Bethesda and Activision. And I know a lot of people criticize those acquisitions, but I think now seeing what they're able to put out and even though yes, Starfield wasn't great, or some of these other games that were promised are far, years in development, right? We still haven't seen Perfect Dark. And hopefully this year is a better year, right? We got Hellblade, Avowed, right? Indiana Jones might be releasing this year. So I think Xbox has a bright future, but this news, it's not looking good, right? It's not looking good, even though I would like to play Hi-Fi Rush on Switch. Not so much PlayStation. I don't really care to play that game on PlayStation. And I did play this on Game Pass. I didn't beat it, but it did feel like a Nintendo game and it did feel like a handheld type game. So I didn't really invest all that much time into it because I was expecting to play it on the cloud, right? Or, on my phone or tablet and kind of just play it like that, right? Get comfortable and play it. So yeah, that's gonna end the video, and hopefully Xbox can redeem themselves and can actually compete with PlayStation, and hopefully the Xbox Direct is actually a good Direct. So I'll probably be talking about that and giving my thoughts on that. So stay tuned and see you in the next video. Peace.